Alright, this is my rating and review for Silent Hill F with my gameplay takeaway and thoughts. And if you're asking yourself, should I buy this? I hope this helps you to answer that question. For the environment and tone of the game, my rating was a 9 out of 10. The environment and the tone were pretty spot on, in my opinion, other than the game not taking place in the town of Silent Hill itself. Which honestly I think's fine, because I still had that Silent Hill feeling when I was playing it. In the quiet moments, I was questioning what was actually happening and trying to make sense of what the character was going through and how the world was evolving around her. Throughout the game, something that I thought was very cool was the way our main character's friendships and relationships were used to help build feelings of safety and tension in the environment. There were moments that our character would reunite with her friends and be going through sequences with them together. And when separated, something that I thought was genius was that the monsters would use your friends' voices. This actually made it very creepy and cool. The experience, it made me question everything that was happening over and over again. For the story and pacing of the game, I rated it 8 out of 10. I did feel like the game was pretty locked in, linear, and straightforward. Playing it, I never really felt too lost at any moments other than in some puzzle areas where I wasn't really picking up what the game was putting down. You can choose combat difficulty and puzzle difficulty for your playthrough with 3 different options. On a first playthrough of a Silent Hill game, I usually use the easiest option for both, throw ego out the window, because I want to just enjoy the story, learn the game, knowing that I'm going to be doing multiple playthroughs with all difficulties afterward. As a side note, with Silent Hill games, I would recommend doing multiple playthroughs. These games are not super long and usually get significantly quicker on subsequent playthroughs. However, there are multiple endings and changes that can occur after your first run. Another important thing to note is there is New Game Plus, carrying over stat upgrades, what I'm going to call charm slot upgrades, and certain key items. New Game Plus does allow you to change difficulties on following playthroughs, so if you do your first playthrough on story difficulty for action and or story difficulties for puzzles, you can go into your New Game Plus runs carrying over upgrades while increasing your combat or puzzle difficulties. For the game's combat, weapons, and inventory, I rated them 8 out of 10. The combat in this game is pretty straightforward melee, but it gets the job done. There's some countering and dodging options, but not anything too crazy. There's also a focus meter that can help you be able to dodge or counter a little more easily, but decreases a resource bar called Sanity, which does replenish, and consumables can also help replenish. The weapons, as I've said, are all melee. They also have durability bars which deplete pretty quickly. However, you do pick up toolkits throughout the game that can be used to repair these weapons, or you can find more weapons usually not too far away to replace bent and damaged ones. Searching for these weapons, keeping an eye on durability, having to sacrifice the damaged weapon that you wanted to keep for a new one with a fresh durability bar, having toolkits for repair, taking up inventory space, these all did really add to the survival horror feeling of the game. I really do think it was a job well done. For your inventory space, it is limited but can be increased throughout the game by finding certain items, some locked behind a puzzle or just in the corner of the environment, so potentially missable on a playthrough. At prey stations, which are save stations, you can also enshrine or sacrifice certain items for what are called faith points. This helps you manage your inventory if it's full, if you're able to sacrifice items and still get a type of currency for upgrading stats or charms. This way you can still get something out of those items and not just have to drop them. For the personality of the game, the world, and the character, I rated them 8 out of 10. If you're familiar with Silent Hill, you know the world always has a personality of its own. Sometimes it's a personality formed by the many personalities of characters in the games or psychological issues that you may not even know you were playing through. Sometimes it just feels like the world's own breathing, dense, and eerie personality. So kind of like our own world, with our own individual perceptions, our own struggles, and aspects of environment formed from the other people in our lives and their perception of the world. Silent Hill games build this environment very well, showing that the internal struggles and torments that our main characters go through in these games are shaping their environment and are very visible and animated. Our main character in this title is on a journey to reunite and save her friends and mend her friendships that don't seem as solid as she had initially perceived them to be. She can be very passive at times, like she has had a lot of decisions made for her, and at many points of the game, makes you think that she questions what her friends and her family really think of her. She is in high school, so at this point in her life, her parents have probably made a lot of her major decisions for her, and with being in high school, she also has the stresses of trying to fit in with other students and her friend group. She wants to hang on to and protect the people she loves, but the world and what she's going through seems to be trying to separate her from these people in her life that anchor her in her identity or former identity. This is where I would bring up a doll that you see throughout the game. I interpreted this doll as a sign of her innocence and remembrance of her childhood and upbringing, usually paired in a situation antagonistically against another theme or situation occurring. This beautifully illustrates our character's internal struggle, almost like our own inner voices. Should I trust this person? Or I was raised not to do this. Maybe I shouldn't do this. For the bugs, not enemy bugs, but performance bugs, crashes, and performance, my rating is 8.5 out of 10. I played on an Xbox Series X. I had 2 crashes, I believe. One where I did have to redo a puzzle sequence. Nothing game-breaking at all, but it was a minor annoyance. Overall, the game did run very well on Xbox and did look beautiful. I would have liked to have the ability to turn off motion blur. I didn't see an option to, and I would also like to have a field of view slider. There were times I was having like Batman Arkham flashbacks where I felt like my character was taking up a little bit too much of the screen. This was all made pretty close to launch, so who knows, maybe at the time you're viewing this video, those changes will already be put in place. But for my overall rating from the categories I used, I had the environment and the tone, 9 out of 10. Story and pacing, 8 out of 10. Combat, weapons, and inventory, 8 out of 10. Personality, 8 out of 10. Bugs, crashes, and performance, 8.5 out of 10. So altogether, for an average of 8.3 out of 10. Or 8.3 out of Silent Hill 2.